Okay, my bad over there, guys. I didn't actually mean to have that hold music up. It was kind of a remnant from last time, but yeah, my bad. We get to enjoy the hold music once again, and next time definitely gonna bring back our regular starting soon music. But I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're all happy to be here. It's been a while since we did one of these streams, and it's a bit of stormy day here in Vancouver, so figured it's a good time to hop back on the stream and start doing some more of these as we approach the end of the year. I'll definitely start to do a couple of these more often, and try to do this weekend, next weekend, and yeah, have some more fun with these. It's been a while. It's been about a couple of weeks since we last did one in mid September. But welcome back. It's been a hot minute. Yeah. Abubakar, it's good to have you back. It's good to have our usual familiar faces back too. I hope everyone's been hanging in there, and maybe even embarking on a few trips here and there. I've got a few planned for the upcoming couple of months. At least one, if not two or three. Let's see how it goes. And it's pretty encouraging. Been pretty encouraging recently in terms of us potentially being able to travel again with Canada doing some interesting things, with other countries doing some interesting things. So let's talk about that today. Let's go over everything we've missed for the past couple of past little while. It's been a while since we had this kind of little roundup here, and we'll get started in about 2 minutes properly. In the meantime, just saying hi to everybody. It's good to have you. Binge watching the Aeroplan video. So, hey Sanan, welcome into the fold. Aeroplan's the best way to travel in Canada, and for Canadians in general. And so, definitely want to stack up those points and start planning some cool trips. Some of the trips that I've been thinking of planning for later this fall, maybe next spring. I'm excited to finally be able to use some of the Aeroplan sweet spots that we've been talking about so much. So, hey Peter, thanks for joining in the stream. Glad you're enjoying the content, and it's good to have you here. And yeah, basically the format here with these, if you guys have any questions or lingering questions from the videos or from our content on the website, or just any travel questions at all, or just want to hang out and shoot the shit about travel, then that's what we're here for. Here for people who love travel to start dreaming about future trips, as is the title of today's stream. Sanan, when you search Aeroplan on YouTube, yeah, very much YouTube is obviously a very popular search engine these days for people to learn about stuff, and our goal is very much to provide the most up-to-date and the most useful Aeroplan information for all of you, with the goal of being your resource for wanting to, if you want to travel the world on points, we've got you covered. Hey Bob, Francis, Jody, it's good to have you all. It's good to get some excitement in here, and we see more and more viewers steadily trickling in, so that's awesome. Since it's 4 p.m. Vancouver time, I'll go ahead and kick off the stream with a quick thank you to the sponsor of today's live stream. First time we have a sponsor, HSBC Canada, very generously sponsoring the live stream, making it possible. And they've obviously got, one of the exciting developments from the past couple of weeks, past month or so. They've got their HSBC World Elite welcome bonus back at 100,000 points. Now, this welcome bonus is on paper, in terms of the number of points, as strong as it was last year. 100,000 points for non-Quebecers, 130,000 points for people who live in Quebec. But you do have to jump through a few more hoops to get the full bonus. The reason we accept them as a sponsor is very much because we believe very strongly in the product, and the HSBC World Elite MasterCard is one of the best cards for travel in Canada for the return on travel purchases at 6 points per dollar spent, 3% return, and also as a traveler's card, being able to spend money abroad without any foreign transaction fees. That's obviously a feature that's sorely lacking from the landscape, and it's great that the HSBC addresses that. So these factors combined make it one of the stronger cards, in my opinion, for actual travel. In addition to the strong welcome bonus of 100,000 points, that tends to come around every winter or so. And if you had applied last year, maybe you don't get to go for it this year, but maybe next year you will get to go for it. And if you don't currently have the card, now's a great time to sign up. So thank you, HSBC, for the sponsorship, and here we go. And if anybody has any questions about the card, or obviously about any other cards or programs, then feel free to shout in the chat. I'm happy to help. Do you know? All right, so let's do this one by one. Just catching up through the chat here. So Peter, you've transferred your 93,000. Good call on that, by the way. So there was the transfer bonus bonanza in September from American Express in the US. And I did the same as you. I transferred 93,000 points over to Virgin Atlantic for ANA first class. Now, you know what's annoying? I had actually transferred 60,000 points just before that transfer bonus bonanza kicked in late August. So I missed out. I kind of took the L on that one. But I thought it's still such a good deal, and I want to do one way in ANA first class, but probably at some point in the future I want to book one for 2 passengers, so I'll need more of those points anyway, and I definitely want to book as many of those as possible before potentially they change the sweet spot. Obviously in this game nothing lasts forever, especially something as generous as, for those of you who don't know, 60,000 Virgin Atlantic miles one way for ANA first class, either from North America to Tokyo or from Tokyo to Europe as well. So I've done the same thing as you, Peter. It's a great deal, probably one of the best deals all around right now. By the way, I'm thinking of doing a sweet spot video soon, right? Like a video just summarizing all of the best sweet spots that we all need to know about. Yeah, if you guys like the sound of that, just let me know, and I'll try to make it happen sooner rather than later. So next up, we've got a familiar face, LabTech Superstar. Welcome back. What are the thoughts on getting reward space on the day of travel? So in general, last minute travel is very much possible. If you're comfortable planning at that stage, if you're comfortable leaving the planning to either the day of travel or a couple of days or a couple of weeks before, you're actually quite likely to find something as long as you're somewhat flexible. And that's because you kind of have to understand that reward and upgrade space is dependent on airlines not feeling like they're able to sell the seat for revenue, right? So by the time it's like 2 weeks out, airlines generally have an idea of how many seats they're likely to sell. And actually, our writer Jace did a great post on this recently, which is kind of the economics behind the whole thing. Airlines, obviously, it's better for them to get something for the seat rather than just having it go out empty, because once the plane takes off with the seat empty, they're never going to recoup any revenue or any sort of benefit from that open seat. And on the other hand, they don't want to put on a huge discount, right, on these last minute seats, because they know that there's business travelers and there's people who's going to pay those high prices anyway. So they don't want to discount. They don't just want to straight up put a discount on it, or else everybody's going to wait till the last minute and just buy those seats, even though they would have been willing to pay more. So instead what they do is they release these seats to people who book on points, which is effectively a discount, right? But it's only through this backdoor channel for releasing the discount rather than publicly. And so that's us. That's people like us who benefit from that. And so basically a long-winded way to answer your question, which is, yeah, last minute travel, if you're comfortable not having a flight booked until then, or maybe having a backup plan booked until then and then changing to your desired seat, it's actually a very solid strategy. Hey Oz, how are you doing, buddy? Thanks for tuning in, and I think you still owe you a points consulting, because you had emailed in before we made the change to our points consulting service, where I no longer take calls and we have our team doing it instead. But yeah, Oz, let me know if you want to chat. How do you expect us to keep up the sheer quantity of content we are putting out? Great question. There's a lot to talk about, man. There's a lot of stuff happening with travel coming back and all the different airlines and hotels doing exciting things. And we definitely want to serve travelers as much as possible in as many different ways as possible on as many different platforms as possible. So we have our work cut out for ourselves, and honestly it stresses me out sometimes, but this is a wave of excitement for people who are interested in travel, who are excited for travel to come back. So that's the reason we have so much content coming out. How should you keep up with it? Well, come come check out the website, come check out the YouTube channel on a frequent basis, and then keep your eyes peeled. We've got lots of exciting things planned, and I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that are worth your attention to learn about, to keep up to date about, especially with still quite a bit of uncertainty in these days. Half joking, half serious. Yeah, I know. It's the same thought for myself when I'm thinking about all the content we're making and all the content that we need to make. It's like, that's a lot, but people need it. Hey, Canada, China. I still don't know your real name, but it's good to hear from you, and hope you're doing well over there on the other side of the world. Hope I can make it back someday soon. Hilton versus Marriott, Francis. Easy answer for me here. As much as we like to decry Marriott, Bonvoy, loyalty program, and Marriott as a whole for being, kind of being complacent in their whole biggest hotel chain in the world thing, and not really serving up meaningful value to travelers that often. As much as we like to decry that, I think Hilton's still lagging further behind. So I would pick Marriott most days of the week, and I would save Hilton for, it's good enough like having diamond status through the Hilton Aspire card in the US. We've talked about this a few times recently, which is, out of the three major hotel chains, Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt, Hilton is probably the easiest one to retain status every single year, because you just need that top tier, you just need the Hilton Aspire card just to have that card, and you'll have top tier status every year. But at the same time, top tier Hilton Diamond status is probably also the least rewarding on average out of the three programs, and that makes sense because of how easy it is to earn. So for me, my focus with Hilton is very much the occasional stay where it makes sense, where Hilton has the best hotel option that fits my needs. Recently I stayed in Calgary, and there was a new Hilton boutique hotel there that I found pretty interesting. But mostly I'm saving my Hilton points for the occasional, or actually for the true top tier of Hilton's luxury portfolio, which is going to be Waldorf Astoria and also LXR Resorts, which they've been trying to build up a bit more for LXR Resorts. So I have the Waldorf Astoria Maldives booked for next year, and that's a really hard booking to snag, but I managed to get it around my birthday actually, so I'm pretty excited about that. And recently our writer Amy did a review of the LXR hotel in the Seychelles, which looks really nice too. So that's the kind of redemption that I'm aiming for with Hilton. As a sidebar, I touched upon this in the video that we just published today about airlines versus hotels and where the value lies, but I would say the same also kind of applies to Marriott, increasingly so these days, because again, Marriott is like, they're so big, they don't need to provide outsized value at every turn, right? They're happy to serve you with that footprint, and we kind of just need to deal with it. So if you're collecting Bonvoy points and you want to get good value out of it, it's really important to save those points for those stays, hotel stays that really, they're in your heart of hearts. Like they're your true aspirational goals, right? You don't want to be burning Bonvoy points on Westins and Renaissances in like any city, because those are probably pretty run of the mill, and you could just pay for those and save your points for, let's say, the Maldives or Dubai, and some of those those hotel sweet spots. Speaking of sweet spots, we've got a couple of comments in here saying that the sweet spots video would be welcome, so we'll try to make it happen as soon as possible. And it looks like I've been guilty of rambling on a little bit, so let's try to catch up on the chat here. And to everybody who's just tuning in, welcome. It's good to have you. It's been a while since we did one of these, and we'll try to do a couple more as we go towards the end of the year. Sophia, question about e-upgrades. Your husband's made 25K status with Aeroplan, and he has 20 e-upgrades. So okay, so it depends on which route you're flying. If you're flying domestically, it's 4 e-upgrade credits per person to upgrade from Latitude, one way. If you're flying internationally, it'll probably be more. And what they've done with the 25K status is 25K status earns 25 e-upgrades. You get 20 e-upgrades automatically, and you can choose 5 more as part of the select benefits. And they've set the e-upgrade chart so that the true long-haul flights require 13 e-upgrades from Latitude per direction. And I'm pretty sure this was deliberate, because 13 per direction means that you need 26 to upgrade a round trip, and as a 25K, you only have 25. So they've set it so that 25K members, you really need to go for that 35K if you want to upgrade both directions of a long-haul Air Canada flight. Very clever like that. But that's how the system works. Definitely, if you can take advantage of the spend your way to status this year, you can bump yourself up to 35K, and you'll get some extra credits as a result. Ibi, you booked a bunch of trips to Hawaii. You've got business class, you've got resorts, you've got the Maldives, and the Le Meridian there. So that's awesome. Kyle, if you understand correctly, there's no more. Yeah, so there's no more. Well, actually, Kyle, it's coming back in 2022. That's the latest that we know. The Star Alliance Upgrade Awards. That's what Kyle is referring to. Previously, there was a chart to upgrade paid Star Alliance tickets to, either economy to premium economy or to business class. But that's temporarily suspended, but will be coming back next year. But word on the street is don't expect it to be too generous, because Aeroplan has kind of been limited by what Star Alliance will allow them to do. So don't expect it to be, too many sweet spots there, but maybe 1 or 2 sweet spots like we previously had with EVA Air. There was some sweet spots there, as I understand it. Michael, is the BMO World Elite cashback card worth $60? Probably not, if you ask me. I think you could do a lot better with annual fee spend towards cards that earn points, which you can then redeem for higher value than cashback. That's always generally going to be our position on cashback cards. It's potentially useful if you value convenience above all else, but if you're looking to get value out of this game and be able to earn a strong return on the time you're spending, even absorbing all the material, tuning into these live streams, if you want to really reward yourself with stuff that money can't really buy, or that you would never spend money on, then points is where it's at over cashback. Jeff, as a Canadian, how do you earn Hyatt points? 2 options. US credit cards. Number 1, get into US credit cards, get your first Amex cards, wait about 12 to 18 months, then get Chase cards, and that's where you can either transfer points to Hyatt or get the Chase Hyatt Visa itself. That's your first option. Second one is just to buy Hyatt points at a discount right now until October 31st. So about 1 week left. They're being sold for with a 30% bonus, and that's about 1.85 US cents per point. So you should be able, if you have the right redemption in mind that exceeds 1.85 cents per point, then buying Hyatt points could be a good deal. And in fact, I'm not just saying this, in theory, but I actually recently made a pretty sizable Hyatt purchase because I needed points to book our upcoming trip, which is the whole thumbnail of this live stream, a private island getaway in Nicaragua called Kalala Island, and it's really, really, really exciting. I'm really excited for this trip, and it retails for like upwards of $2,000 per night. So obviously, buying Hyatt points and redeeming at 40,000 points per night was a great deal there. So Jeff, hope that helps. All right. See some chat here about the 25K status and the 13 e-upgrades each. Clever or diabolical, depending on who you ask, for sure. But they've always, the airlines and the hotels have always designed these programs in a way to get you, right? And our goal here is to get them back. Okay, so we see a bit of chatter here between Hilton, Marriott, and yeah, Andrew. Great point. Hilton has some good promotions sometimes, where it's like 3 times the points on your stays, and you can get a pretty solid return that you can then use towards a higher value redemptions. Another extension on the Buddy Pass conversion is unlikely, in my opinion, just because Aeroplan has explicitly confirmed that November 30th is the deadline. So it would be unlikely for them to go back on that. Obviously, I'd be very pleasantly surprised if that's the case. But I think November 30th is when we're going to call it a day for that opportunity. Is 24/7 parcel a safe option? Yeah, it works. Works for me pretty well. Just let them know at the start which, like they know at this point that most people start out with American Express cards, and I trust the team over there to handle people's needs properly. It's been pretty smooth sailing so far. The new Aeroplan system. So okay, Max. The new Aeroplan system. You had an agent tell you that it's no longer allowed to upgrade just one segment of the mixed cabin ticket. My understanding is doing so. I mean, change fees are being waived right now, but it might incur a repricing because of the dynamic pricing model. But that's my understanding. I'm not 100% sure though, so maybe I need to double check that. But yeah, I think it's no longer the same as before, in the sense that before you could always just upgrade from economy to business if the whole thing is booked in business and guarantee yourself the same price as before. But I don't think that's the case. I think there is that, subject to repricing under the dynamic pricing model. So Alan, you're trying to book the Alila Ventana, and yeah, that's on my list as well. Definitely want to do that before my whole globalist experiment ends. And 30K points is hard, but I think you can get the standard suite for like 40 something K points. And I mean, if you're gonna go there, maybe getting a suite is something you'd be interested in anyway. So potentially that's the case. Also, quick little tidbit to share with you guys. This is only applicable to globalist members, but recently I learned that if you're a Hyatt globalist, you actually have access to a points advance feature, just like Marriott Bonvoy, where you can book rooms without having the points in your account. So Alan, if you're a globalist, maybe that's something to keep in mind. That's probably how I'm gonna be trying to book Ali La Ventana. Probably has to be late next year at this rate. Hazel, can you elaborate on the rewards coming at the end of the year? So earlier in the video, I kind of hinted at potential stuff that's coming, or not necessarily groundbreaking stuff, but just a few exciting things. And some of these are already on our radars. I mean, we know that Aeroplan LCBO partnership is going to be spruced up a little bit before the end of the year. We know that Aeroplan and Uber Eats is going to be spruced up a little bit before the end of the year. That's going to be something like an actual, yeah, it's like a linked loyalty partnership, right? Where you can link your Aeroplan number with your Uber account, and then you kind of get all your points automatically instead of having to order food through the e-store, which sometimes doesn't even post properly. Couple more things. So tomorrow, Monday, there's going to be some cool stuff on the actually there's going to be 2 cool things from the Aeroplan side. One is US related, so keep an eye out for that. Yeah, it's kind of basically if you were at our Prince of Travel signature event in Vancouver last month, we had some of the guys from Aeroplan there, and one of the questions I had posed was, with this Chase Aeroplan MasterCard in the US, is it going to be advantageous for Canadians to also get that card? And it was pretty much confirmed that yes, it will be. Well, the wording was there will be features and benefits that are available on the US card that are not available on the Canadian ones, and vice versa. So obviously, if you can get both sides, you are enjoying the best of both worlds. Tomorrow we're gonna get a little bit of a hint, I guess, or a little peek at what that US side card might look like. Although the launch will probably be towards the end of the year. Towards the end of the year is my understanding. But that's just that's all Aeroplan stuff. And then in terms of other programs, we know Air Miles is supposed to be rolling out something interesting and new for flights, but who knows? We can't really keep our expectations too high for Air Miles, let's just say. You have long, slim fingers. Why, thank you, Edward. Yeah, I used to play piano. Still got a keyboard in my living room that I haven't used in a while, but it's nice to like use to like de-stress every now and then. Are you able to do 5th night free and free weekend night certificate for Hilton together? Joshua, I think the answer is no in the way that you're asking the question, because it's just like Marriott Bonvoy, where if you want to do 5th night free, all the other 4 nights need to be on points. So the only way to combine the two would be to do 4 nights on points, a 5th night free, and then a free weekend night for the 6th night. Hope that helps. Darrow Lynn, does Aeroplan ever have promos for transferring MR points? Not in Canada. Sometimes in the US. The hotel conundrum. That was our video today. We're just talking about like the whole, yeah, I mean, it's a real conundrum about like, what do we do with our Amex points? Is it better to put them towards airlines and secure value, on paper, even though we kind of don't really have that many other sources for hotel points? Or is it just worth paying for hotels using points so that we don't have to pay money for hotels, but then not having nearly as high value as if we just redeem for flights? So yeah, I think if you want to stay at aspirational hotels, that is one case where it would make sense to put some points towards the hotel side. But I would just re-emphasize that if that's the case for you, you really do have to be careful about like, sometimes it's easy to get tempted into using your hotel points for other stuff. If you're taking a quick weekend trip before your big Maldives trip next year, if you might be tempting to throw some hotel points at it, but you just got to be careful to save your points for truly where it matters the most. And yeah, like I mentioned in the video, and to Matthew's point over here, sprucing up your hotel game with the upgrades, first of all, elite status, and secondly, building your sweet talking game is very much also the key to unlocking greater value out of your hotels. Because if you can redeem your points for something that's worth 1 cent per point or 1.5 or 2 cents per point, but if you get upgraded to a baller suite, then that's going to be like 4 or 5 cents per point. That's more within reach, those high valuations. And that's always, for me, that's always been like part of the fun, right? The whole unpredictability of the suite upgrade game kind of keeps me on that hedonic treadmill, if I'm being honest. Because every time it's like, it's like I really don't need 1,000 square feet of space, but hey, if they'll give it to me, why not? And so I'm constantly on the chat asking them for these suite upgrades, because it's so easy to do so anyway. It's funny, when we had our event at the JW Marriott Park, Vancouver, obviously everybody who stayed at the hotel was a platinum, or almost everybody was a platinum or titanium, and everybody was asking them for the upgrades, and they had to be like, well, given the sheer volume of elite members this weekend, they even told us as the organizers that there will not be enough suites for all of the attendees to be upgraded, and for us to like try to help set expectations too. Hussein, welcome back to the stream. It's good to have you. Hussein, your question here: if you roll over your e-upgrades with a black card or with a premium card, do you need to keep the card open to keep those e-upgrades? Officially, yes. I've been told that if you were to cancel the premium card, then the rolled over e-upgrades could get revoked. Unofficially, who knows if that's going to be enforced. So if you do choose to cancel your premium card, you do take the risk that your rolled over e-upgrades will be clawed back. Now, if you had used up all the e-upgrades by then, my guess is you'd be fine. But that's only a guess, right? It's only a guess. How far? Hey Daniel, how's it going? Thanks for being here, and thanks for being one of our esteemed members for Prince of Travel membership. It's great to see your face always. How far in advance do you typically book Aeroplan reward trips? With dynamic pricing, I find myself booking 6 to 12 months out to avoid increasing costs. For sure. Well, if it's Air Canada flights. So here's my overall philosophy with Air Canada and Aeroplan. If I'm traveling internationally, I will typically avoid flying Air Canada business class if I can help it. For me, not because Air Canada business class is bad. In fact, I think it's it's squarely in the middle of the pack among global airlines in terms of business class quality. But it's just more interesting for me to fly, all the different airlines out there. And that's, first, personally, I find it more interesting. And for our website and YouTube content, I also feel like people would be more interested in those. So given that, the only time I really find myself seeking out AC business class is on domestic trips. Vancouver, Toronto primarily, right? We live in Vancouver, but we often go back to Toronto because Jesse's parents live there, so we make that trip quite often. And for those, yes, I've found that it's very important to book as far in advance as possible, and then maybe change the dates or whatever if your plans change, because as you get to a couple months and then a couple weeks before the flight, the dynamic pricing, man, really starts to kill you. Having said that, if you have e-upgrades, that's going to be very important for you, because then you can just go with the economy class pricing, which tends to be very reasonable under dynamic pricing, and just upgrade that with Latitude. Upgrade the Latitude fare with your e-upgrades instantaneously. Obviously, Latitude Attitude is kind of the name of the game there. Look it up. It is one of the best strategies for combining elite status with Air Canada flights to kind of avoid the worst of the dynamic pricing. Speaking of Latitude, quick little tip here. If you're trying to book Aeroplan flights and if you miss the free cancellation policy before September 30th, it has proven to work that you can actually just do a free change to a Latitude fare and then cancel afterwards. So in effect, free cancellations are still around. You just need to do an extra step to kind of do that. Great. All right, somebody has suggested that I don't put plants on the desk. Yep, sure, that is why I've now replaced the plant with this little globe over here. So Japan Airlines first class. I've actually been planning out some ANA new first to Japan Airlines first class flights, and part of me, actually, now that you mention it, Alan, thanks for that, because I was struggling with putting together a routing recently that allows me to fly ANA new first class, but and try to integrate it with my travels for the rest of the year, because there's not really many places in Asia that are open. So if I were to fly it, it would just purely be for the flight itself. So now that you mention it, I'm leaning towards just waiting until Japan opens up, which seems like it's at least plausible in early 2022 before doing that flight. I think I'm gonna do that. Sounds like a more sane plan, and I have a lot of other products and airlines that I want to try in late 2021. So appreciate that, Alan, and yeah, guys, I always like doing these streams because I get a fair few ideas from them too, and I can always take those ideas and try to make them a reality. What would you advise for somebody who's just starting to collect Aeroplan points? If you're just starting out, depends on your comfort levels. You could consider going with the first year free offers from TD and CIBC just to get a sense of what's going on before you commit to a high value, high annual fee card like the Aeroplan Reserve or the Platinum card or the Business Platinum. That's my advice. If you're just starting out and maybe if you're ready to pay those high annual fees, if you see the value there, then go ahead. It's the fastest way to rack up the points. But if you'd like to start out slow, first year free is where it's at. All right, back and forth about the American Express Bonvoy Brilliant. Whoa, where the free Platinum Elite status came with it and they're not honoring it. I don't know what's going on there. NER is your username, but speaking of that card, it's a great offer right now too, before November 3rd. So we've got just over a week to take advantage. 85k free night awards. I mean, this Bonvoy Brilliant and the Bonvoy Business, they just keep raising the stakes year after year. So I almost don't dare to imagine what kind of offer they're going to give us next winter. Last year they gave us free platinum status. This year it's a record high points level and then a free night award on top of that that's worth either 85k or 2 sets of free night awards for 50k each. So that's wild. Hilton's new auto upgrades. Richard, hey, thanks for tuning in here. Richard, by the way, big success story for Richard. So a couple of months back, I was doing one of these streams and I was telling you guys about how our team at Prince of Travel is ever expanding and we're interested in, hiring anybody who's interested in working with us if you can bring some unique skills to the table. And Richard emailed in and now he was our summer intern, I guess summer student, and now he's continuing on on a part-time basis. So Richard, it's great to have you. Thanks for having sent in your interest all the way back. And this kind of shamelessly transitions into, if anybody else is interested in the work we do here, send me an email. Send us an email on the website, on the contact form, and let's see if there's opportunity to collaborate and build some exciting stuff for Richard. So your question. So Hilton's new auto upgrades. I think Hilton, they rolled out a feature where they'll automatically officially upgrade you if you're a gold or diamond member. But for me, I think that will only probably result in like base level upgrades. And no program is going to roll out a feature that automatically upgrades you to the highest suite type that is not currently occupied. That's just dreamland territory, if you ask me. So for me, I'm definitely still going to be, sending out those emails and seeing if the hotel will do me the honors of putting me into the, the vice presidential or the presidential suites, because if you don't ask, you never know. And as long as those rooms are open and you kind of make it clear that as a gold member, but ideally as a top tier diamond member, that you would really value that upgrade and that it would give you the best first impression of the hotel possible, then the hotel will probably do whatever they can to upgrade you. Speaking of which, recently I was at the Hilton in Calgary. It's called the Wesley Hotel. And yeah, I sent them an email on the morning of the stay actually, and I just said, this will be my first stay at this brand, Tapestry Collection, which is kind of their boutique brand. And I said, like, having recently renewed my diamond status for another year, I'd love to get some meaningful benefits out of it. Little do they know that renewing my status is just renewing my Hilton Aspire card, which has a $450 annual fee, yes, but it has $500 in offsetting credits. So, it's overall, if you can maximize the credits, you're essentially getting paid to keep the card and to get a free night award every year and to have Hilton Diamond status. So the economics of the card are a little bit confusing if you ask me, but I'm not complaining. So to answer the question, I don't think it's going to be too useful of an upgrade feature. I think we'll still need to. It'll be useful if you don't really care about pursuing the best suite upgrades, but if you do, if you like that part of the game, then there's still a game to be played there. Hello from quarantine, Violet. How are you? You're back in Japan, eh? I think you're back in. Let me know how how Tokyo quarantine is. I'm very curious. I watched a few YouTube videos and it looks pretty nice. Looks like the food is the type of food that you would expect and that probably tastes pretty good. So hope you're staying sane. I hope it's only 14 days too. Paramveer, hey, how's it going? As a Canadian who wants to get into US cards, how do you suggest to hit US minimum spends if you don't normally shop in US dollars? This question always comes up, and I think people have some kind of preconceived notion that you have to spend in US dollars if you're hitting a US issued card. But most of the worthwhile US issued cards, just to clarify for you guys, they don't have foreign exchange fees. So you can just go ahead and buy whatever you're going to buy in Canada, and that's all good. Now, you're not going to be hit with a foreign exchange fee when you make the purchase, but you might lose out a little bit on the exchange when you convert your Canadian dollars into US dollars to pay off the bill, unless you already have US dollars from another source. But even if you were to incur, let's say, a 1% foreign exchange hit over there, 1% you could get with like some of the better foreign exchange services, like TransferWise, for example. Even if you were to incur that, the rewards that you earn from the US side, both in terms of the welcome bonuses and the return on spend, should very much outweigh it. So Paramveer, hope that helps. Just buy whatever you're going to buy in Canada. Can you please give us a nice manufactured spending tip? No, sorry. That's so yeah, that's it's just not really something that we like to get into on these streams because of the nature of the topic, right? To respect the work of those who have put in the time to figure this stuff out. And obviously, the usual advice applies, which is if you want to get into manufactured spending, you gotta find your a more private community to kind of have these conversations, rather than these public settings. All right, product switching from RBC Low Rate Classic Visa to the Avion Platinum. Yeah, whenever you product switch cards, you always get kind of the base level bonus, like the default non-promotional bonus. So for the Avion Platinum and the Infinite, that's always going to be 15,000 Avion points instead of 35. Pretty sure if you look at the 35K offer that's on right now, it'll say something like this is only valid for new applications rather than switching to the card. What do you think of the odds of L3 credit card processing, level 3? Hard to say, really. It could happen. It could not happen. I mean, it could happen at any time. I think it's probably going to come around some point over the next few years or so, but I also don't really see like if there's a huge reason for the credit card companies to implement it up here. You know, if they're implementing level 3 processing, the reason isn't going to be to track what people are buying at the grocery store and figure out if it's just gift cards or not. You know, there's going to be a larger reason motivated by actual business purposes for them to bring it up here. And given the size of the market, I don't know if that's going to be a priority for them just yet in Canada. How do you come up with complex routings, Joshua? So, you know, your routings can be basically as complex as you imagine them to be. So yeah, it's like if you want to go to different places, you want to string together a routing that fits them on a given trip. For me, it comes down to a few factors. Yes, I want to go to a very varied set of places around the world for a very varied set of purposes, whether that's tourism or meeting people or first of all, the places that determine where I want to go. Secondly, I also want to fly a bunch of different airlines because that makes for more interesting content for Prince of Travel. If I'm able to try out as many airlines and products within those airlines as possible, rather than just flying the same airlines over and over again. So that second reason may not be everybody's motivation, but I know some other people, you know, even if you're not doing videos and reviews and stuff, it's still interesting to fly and to try as many of the different business class and first class as you can, right? That's one of the reasons that people really enjoy this game we play. Oh no, Abi, you got declined for the Bonvoy. Brilliant. You have US bank accounts and an open Chase card but no credit history. Did you use Nova Credit? because if you use Nova Credit, your credit history shouldn't be a factor. Let me know. Shashwat, are you being serious, man? You've booked 2 Emirates boomerangs? How did I not know that? I thought you... Oh, okay, so you booked a second Emirates boomerang. And, okay. Well, enjoy. I hope you enjoy it. I know a lot of people are flying their boomerangs now, and by boomerang I mean that little trick that I had mentioned in my Emirates first class video. If you guys watched that, you'll notice that I had flown Toronto, Dubai, Paris, Dubai, and that's kind of the booking trick with Emirates and the Alaska Airlines partnership that is now dead. So unfortunately we can't book that anymore, but back when we could, you could do 3 Emirates first class flights for the price of 1 at 150,000 Alaska miles for the whole thing. How do you use the Amex US airline credit as a Canadian? What I do is I load my United.com travel bank, and then at some point I'm gonna book a United Airlines flight. Is Marriott Sweet Night Awards useless because of Sweet Talk? Great question, Archie, and it's worth thinking about. So Sweet Night Awards allow you to not confirm, but request suite upgrades up to 5 days in advance, and they may or may not clear. It's supposed to give you a higher chance of the suite upgrades clearing, but it also might not. So for me, it's largely a useless benefit to begin with. However, I think a better way to put it is the only reason I like Sweet Night Awards, the only utility I get out of them is that they save me effort in sweet talking a few days in advance. Because without Sweet Night Awards, I have to sweet talk them through the chat like 2 days in advance. But with Sweet Night Awards, I just need to click a few buttons up to 5 days in advance, and maybe the request clears, and then I don't have to worry about things anymore. But sometimes, and this has been happening to me more often lately, sometimes the Sweet Night Award request doesn't clear, and then I'm back where I started when I need to look at the list of suites, do the sweet talking, and then, the usual rituals before arriving at a hotel. But hope that helps. I do wish they could make the Sweet Night Awards more useful as a benefit, but expecting Bonvoy to do anything useful and customer friendly these days is a bit of a tall order. All right, so we're getting pretty knee deep into the stream. Just like to take another moment to thank the sponsor of today's live stream, HSBC and the HSBC World Elite MasterCard. I've held my HSBC World Elite MasterCard for about 1 year now, because I had gotten mine last year at the time of the 100K bonus when it was around last year. Obviously it's back now for the winter 2021 season. And it's generally speaking the only Canadian issued card that I use when I'm traveling abroad because of the no foreign transaction fees and the 3 times the points return on everything and 6 times the points return on travel, which corresponds to 1.5% and 3% returns respectively. The other strength I would say of this card is the ability to transfer points to Singapore Airlines. The only Canadian issued cards that credit card that lets you transfer points over to KrisFlyer and book Singapore Airlines sweet spots. Obviously, they also do transfers to British Airways Avios, often with a transfer bonus in there, and Cathay Pacific Asia Miles. And just between you guys and me, I've been encouraging them to add more airline transfer partners, because I really think it's an easy point of differentiation if they're able to add a few more exciting partners into the mix. So thank you HSBC for sponsoring the video, for making it worth my while to hop on here the live stream and hang out with you guys, and thanks for making the World Elite MasterCard a strong product with room obviously for even more improvement in the future. Darian, hello. Hope you're doing well on the opposite side of the country, over in St. John's, over on the Rock. You guys are university students, but you've been able to go to New York and Rome, so that's awesome. I'm waiting for Air Canada to bring back that St. John's London flight on a narrow body, because that was always a unique 4-hour flight across the Atlantic, and interesting little jumping off point for a transatlantic flight too. I took that once many years back, and yeah, super interesting boarding an A319 at London Heathrow to cross the Atlantic. But it'll probably be a while until they bring that back, unfortunately. So Nick, I answered your question there about foreign transactions. Check the sponsor of today's video. You can check out the link in the description too if you're interested in applying. Warren, you're sad that Singapore Airlines got rid of the A380 in the US. Any top options for first class suites on the way to Europe? Lufthansa is probably your best bet. Lufthansa releases seats typically up to 14 days in advance in first class, but recently they've been releasing seats up to 30 days in advance on some routes, so that's a good opportunity. If you're comfortable booking somewhat last minute, if it's your honeymoon, you can always book like any business class flight as a backup and then change to Lufthansa first class once it opens from one of the North America gateway airports. My tip, if you're going to Europe from North America with Lufthansa, schedule a long layover in Frankfurt, after you get off first class, but before your next flight to somewhere else in Europe, because you get to spend the whole day in the first class terminal and just enjoying that awesome ground experience. Obviously, if you have the time, and if that's something you would enjoy. But that is the first class terminal. It's been a while since I've enjoyed its hallowed halls. So it's been it's been 4 years, and sometime later this year I'd love to be able to go back and do the whole champagne by the bathtub experience with those Lufthansa first class terminal rubber ducks. Evil Twin, thank you for the super chat. Hey, thank you for contributing to the live stream. It's really generous of you, so let's give your question here some of the attention it deserves. The best way to get a first class business class flight from Edmonton to Vancouver to Bangkok with Avion points. For me, I'm going to say Vancouver, Hong Kong, Bangkok, or Vancouver, Tokyo, Bangkok on Cathay business class or Japan Airlines business class will be your best bet there. And to book that, you can... Okay, first of all, that will just start in Vancouver. You're not going to be able to get the Edmonton flight. Actually, you may be able to get the Edmonton flight if you book the whole thing through Asia Miles, because they do have a partnership with Air Canada. But it might just be easier to start in Vancouver and then book the Edmonton Vancouver separately, because Edmonton Vancouver is only you can get flights for 3,000 to 4,000 Aeroplan points one way, which is pretty ridiculous. I just booked Vancouver Edmonton to watch the Canada-Mexico game, World Cup qualifiers in November, and it was 3,500 points one way in economy, and it's less than 2 hours, so economy it's just fine. Anyway, get yourself to Vancouver, and then you can use any One World program to book Vancouver to Bangkok with either Cathay or Japan Airlines. But in terms of the best choice, it might be Alaska Miles, because that's only going to be 60,000 to 65,000 points in business class. Alaska Miles in business class. Hope that helps. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions. Can you transfer Amex membership rewards points between the cards? Don't really know what you are asking there. Between which cards? La M. It would help if you're clarifying between which cards that you're trying to transfer. And did Amex Personal Plat secretly add the $100 Nexus credits? Not secretly. I mean, we covered it over on princeoftravel.com, so if you missed it, that's on you, okay? We covered it. It's they added it at the same time that they refreshed the gold card with the Nexus credit. Although the gold card's Nexus credit doesn't really make any sense because it's only 50 Canadian dollars and a Nexus application is 50 US. So how does that make sense? I don't know. But yeah, the Platinum card and also the Aeroplan Reserve too. Both of those now have a $100 Nexus credit, which should cover at least one person's Nexus application, and the rest of it can be used towards a second person's application, although it doesn't cover the whole thing. What is better, US Amex Bonvoy or Chase Bonvoy? For me, probably the Bonvoy Brilliant for the US because it's a more powerful card, obviously more expensive, but it does offset that high annual fee with a $300 Marriott credit that can be used towards any Marriott purchase, so it's very flexible. And the anniversary free night award is stronger at 50,000 Bonvoy points rather than 35,000. Lucas Derman, welcome back. I currently have 31 nights with Marriott. Should I chase platinum? Oh, so if you're booking the St. Regis Maldives next year, yeah, I think you should, because otherwise you're paying out the nose for breakfast, and that's never a good feeling. The Maldives, it's one of those situations where you kind of have to decide if you're gonna be cost conscious when you go there. There's a strategy for doing so, which is to kind of load up on breakfast and not have to eat lunch and then skip dinner on a few days. You know, that's kind of the shameless cheapskate way to go to the Maldives while still enjoying all of the amenities and all of the views and all of the overwater villas. Or you can just say like, okay, we're going to the Maldives, we're gonna ball out, we're gonna eat dinner properly and maybe even lunch, you know, every day without worrying about the cost because it's a once in a lifetime thing. Everybody will approach it differently and there's no real right or wrong answer, so it's up to you. But if you do want to save costs, then yeah, I think getting platinum status this year will be important. Andrew S, you have too many Avios now. Yeah, same, man. I need to book a few Avios One World round the multi-carrier trips to burn up that balance. Michael Blakeborough, how's it going? Any tips on getting your family of 4 into business class if you have e-upgrades that only allow for 2 people to be upgraded? Not officially, unfortunately. The policy is that you know you can only do 1 upgrade with your business class e-upgrades, and what can we say about that? In the past, it was possible. It was easy to kind of book 2 people and then cancel yourself and then book somebody else, but they have sent out a memo, I think, to clamp down on that. What's the best way to get to Sydney from Vancouver in business class? Colin, what do you want? Do you want convenience or do you want comfort and luxury? You know, if it's convenience, then Vancouver Sydney direct on AC is probably the best way. If you're looking for first class, any of the first class products between Cathay Pacific or Japan Airlines or ANA will be your best bet. Probably have to fly through a US airport though because they don't serve Vancouver anymore. Do you get a US credit hit when you apply for US credit cards? So Kid Ventures TV, yeah, regularly you do, but for your first one, if you don't have an existing US credit file and you're getting started with Nova Credit, then obviously no. Anthony, Marriott gift cards going on sale. Yeah, so we saw 20%, we saw 15% before. I don't think they were around Christmas or Black Friday. I recall they were like sometime during the year. Seem to be not that predictable, but maybe Black Friday we'll see something. For sure, we'll let you guys know. Just we'll be updating the site if we get one of those gift card discounts again. And they're always a good deal, especially if you have expensive cash stays lined up, or let's say you're going to the St. Regis Maldives like our friend earlier was, and you have to pay for a whole seaplane transfer. Those are never cheap, let's just say. Oh, lots of questions today, lots of appetite for travel, and it's always good to see. And it's probably because we haven't had one of these in a while, so it's good to be back. Do you have experience changing an Aeroplan award after flying a few segments? Jackson, great question. No experience on my end, but I'm also curious. Interestingly, I have asked Air Canada how the calculation is done there. Let's say we flew half the itinerary and wanted to cancel the rest. What is the prorated refund calculated according to? And they politely declined to answer that question. So I'm curious to see how it works, and I might just give it a shot myself one of these days when I have a chance with some flexible travel plans. So business platinum to personal platinum, yeah, you can combine the points. You can just do that through chat. And what they'll do is they will merge the 2 points accounts so that they are combined under the card that you want to combine them to. I think there were some Nexus reopened enrollment appointments, but not across the board. I think it was just at some specific Nexus enrollment centers, but I'm not sure exactly which one. So I'm gonna do. Sorry, I can't be of more help there. All right, and following up on the 0% foreign transaction fees, Paramveer. Oh yeah. Yes. So great little follow-up question that you've done there. Yeah. So most of the U.S. cards have no foreign transaction fees universally, so it's a good card to use when traveling abroad too. Personally, sometimes I use my HSBC World Elite when I'm abroad. Sometimes I use my Chase Sapphire Preferred, just depending on MasterCard versus Visa or stuff like that. So it's always good to have multiple options, and U.S. cards can be very helpful in that regard. Am I hyper super elite with Air Canada yet? No, I'm only a lowly 50K, unfortunately. Probably going to be upgraded to 75K after this Spend Your Way to Elite status promotion. I did toy with the idea of actually giving Air Canada money and upgrading to super elite potentially, but ultimately I don't care enough about status, I don't care enough. Because how often will I get benefits out of, like I mentioned earlier in the stream, when I'm traveling internationally, I like to book with other airlines rather than Air Canada. And then when I'm traveling domestically, if it's a long haul flight like Toronto, Vancouver, I'll probably book business either directly or with e-upgrades. So the only times I'm traveling in economy is something like Vancouver, Calgary or Vancouver, Edmonton. And yeah, that's not enough for me to, throw several $1,000s at Air Canada and just say just for status. You sometimes gotta keep yourself from getting too far deep into the game, right? From spending money that you would otherwise not spend and it doesn't make sense, and that you're just being tempted by all these rewards out there. So always a good reminder of that every now and then for everybody. All right. How's everybody doing? How are we feeling? I think there's lots of questions, and I'm happy to help, obviously, and I'm gonna stick around to maybe 5:15, so 8:15 Eastern time. And once again, the me sticking around is empowered very much by HSBC, who's generously sponsoring the videos. So just to give them a shout out, do consider applying for the card before the offer ends on January 31st, 2022. And if you're curious, the welcome bonus of 100,000 points, there is a 12-month rule on that. So if you have held the card on paper in the past 12 months, you're not eligible for the welcome bonus. But somebody recently commented on one of the articles saying that they do hold another HSBC product but got the bonus anyway. I just thought I would share that with you and have you guys do what you will. What are your suggestions for flying from Toronto to Ghana through London? So Mon, why do you have to transit through London specifically? Are you looking to do a stopover? If so, then you're probably looking at a North America to Atlantic Zone award. Hold on, let me just get back to... I'm gonna stick on till 5:15 and then I've got a call afterwards. All right. So where were we? Yeah, if you're going Toronto to London to Ghana, you're looking at an Atlantic Zone award. So that's probably going to be at least 85,000 points, if I recall correctly. And you can do your London stopover for an extra 5,000 points. Your journey to London will probably be on Air Canada or on one of the Star Alliance airlines like Lufthansa or TAP Air Portugal from Toronto. And then from London to Ghana, you can probably fly... Yeah, again, I think Lufthansa flies to Accra. I think TAP Air Portugal flies down there. I think Brussels Airlines flies down there. So lots of possibilities. Anthony, does Amex ever have promotions to convert between two countries, like from Canada to the US or the opposite way around? The answer is no. And In fact, not only do they not have promotions, they don't even publicly advertise or even mention this possibility anywhere. So really, it's something that we had to figure out on our own. It's almost unofficial. Okay, so like they could change the policy there at any time, and there's no recourse for us to really say anything about it because it was never published in the first place. In fact, they have changed it just on a moment's notice. I think sometime earlier this year. It used to be at a prevailing exchange rate between both countries, but now it's 1-to-1 from the US to Canada. Sorry, 1-to-1 from Canada. No, 1-to-1 from the US to Canada, and the prevailing exchange rate from Canada to the US. So kind of unfavorable in either direction. And that's kind of the intention, I think, because they don't probably, it's not advertised, it's not out there. So they probably never intended for people to be able to take advantage of arbitraging between the two countries' sweet spots as is possible. If you're savvy enough. Like, just to take one example, we started off the stream by talking about the Virgin Atlantic Flying Club sweet spot for ANA first class. Let's say a 30% conversion bonus from Amex US to Virgin Atlantic is in place. That means you only need about 47,000 MR points to fly ANA first class one way. So you could convert like around 60,000 Canadian MR to the US and then convert that 30% bonus to get enough points to fly ANA first class one way with 60,000 Canadian MR points. Now, on the other hand, if you wanted to transfer to Aeroplan and book ANA first class, that would be like 110,000 MR points. So clear arbitrage opportunities do exist if you're going to transfer across both sides of the border, and that's something to be aware of because it's not talked about very often. Would you recommend getting a Cobalt card for a young adult that's soon going into the job field? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you are part of the target audience for the Cobalt card. Young professionals maybe spend more money on food and drinks, whether that's groceries and dining out, lunch, dinner, when you're working and stuff. And then gas, transit, and travel. Obviously, that's also a big emphasis of the card, and also streaming, 3 times the points. So you're very much within the target audience. Not to mention that the Cobalt card is now one of the strongest in Canada, so I'd recommend it to basically anybody, not just people who are young professionals. Everybody should get one because if you just maximize the 30K allowance on 5 times the points, you can get business class every year without having to chase welcome bonuses. Kind of a point that I had mentioned in today's YouTube video. Socks Malone, thank you for the super chat here. Thank you. You have reached 850,000 Aeroplan points, so that is a lot, obviously. Congratulations on your haul. And you'd love to do a video on WestJet Platinum. Now, sure, I mean, we could do a video about WestJet status, but unfortunately, the reality is WestJet status it's not really worth going out of your way to pursue. Instead, if you happen to be based in Calgary and you fly a lot with WestJet and you get Platinum status, sure, WestJet's going to make you feel very valued. But for the rest of us who are looking to, maybe we're on the fence about status and we're looking for the right incentives to participate, WestJet hasn't really given us those incentives. In fact, yeah, WestJet has taken on a pretty inward-looking loyalty strategy, right? They're very much about serving people who are already loyal to them. But for those of us who are looking for sweet spots, who are looking to, play the field a little bit between Air Canada and WestJet, they haven't given us much to work with. I mean, we can just take a look at what happened to the member exclusive fares. They used to be very valuable for domestic travel. Now, not so much. Also, I recently got to fly WestJet's Dreamliner business class, which is, to be very honest, a very, very strong product. One that challenges Air Canada in pretty much every criterion. But unfortunately, the one criterion where it falls short is the ability to book it on points and in a way that rewards people for engaging with the airline. So WestJet, you've got room to improve there. Otherwise, they're just not very relevant to those of us who want to maximize our rewards, I'd say. On the product side, though, they do have a very strong elevation lounge in Calgary. Very, very strong lounge. Probably one of the best in Canada right now. One of the best airport lounges. And hilariously, it's accessible through Priority Pass. So you can go fly I mean, it's funny if you think about it. The premium TD and CIBC Aeroplan Visa cards let you access the WestJet lounge before your Air Canada flights out of Calgary. Funny, right? Let's do this. A couple more questions. Have you had any experience taking the PCR or NAT test to return back to Canada from the States? Do you have to pay? So, depends on the place. Some places are just free for anybody. Like in New York, there's a company called LabQ that just does pop-up testing on the street side, and they do PCR, and it's within 24-hour turnaround, and it's all free. So New York is great for that. If you're elsewhere, I think you have the option of doing a free PCR if you believe that you were in close contact of a confirmed case. They'll do it for free, and you can use it for travel. It's funny. One of our writers wrote about this, and then there was a huge uproar in the comments because some people thought that it crossed ethical lines. But I'll leave that for you guys to decide. You know, it's up to everybody to decide for themselves. Why don't people talk about the small luxury hotels partnership with Hyatt? Mark, great question. I guess Hyatt doesn't receive that much attention in Canada in the first place just because of the lack of easy ways to earn points in Canada. But I've recently been trying to give it more attention because I've been participating in it more as a Globalist member. And in fact, I just booked my first small luxury hotel stay through Hyatt Points. It's going to be Kalala Island in Nicaragua. I mentioned it earlier in the stream, and I'm super excited for it. By the way, I know we're wrapping up here, but if anybody's been to Nicaragua and has any tips for the country, we'll have 3 days after the island to kind of explore the country. And right now we've planned a few interesting activities around the volcanoes in Granada and Leon. Those are kind of the two cities that are apparently more interesting than the capital. So that's kind of the itinerary right now, but if you've been to Nicaragua, if you have any tips, let us know. Two years, Sox Malone until 850,000 points. Great job. So, we made a video recently about how to become an Aeroplan points millionaire. And so yeah, 1 million points is very much within reach, but it's not going to happen overnight, right? It's not going to be a quick thing. Instead, it's all about spacing out your expenses, and getting it over time. There's always going to be strong offers, rotating through the ranks. So the other thing to say about that is it's not necessarily a good idea, right, to build up your balance all the way up to 1 million or 850,000. So Sox Malone, you should be thinking about redeeming some of those for some awesome trips because, I don't think it's likely, but, first of all, I don't think it's likely that we'll see devaluations soon because, the program already devalued last year when it relaunched, but it could happen in the future. And also, you never know when stuff unrelated to the program might cause an implicit devaluation. Like, just to take an example, the whole situation with Singapore Airlines award space being offline for the duration of the pandemic, right? That's not an action on Aeroplan's part, but it does make your points a little bit less valuable if you wanted to book Singapore Airlines. So that's just one example of if you have trips in mind that you want to take soon, go ahead and use your points, because building it up to 1 million and just letting them sit there, even though whole points millionaire thing, but maybe not the wisest move. Yeah, Anthony. So volcano boarding is on the agenda for sure. We have the tour booked on Cerro Negro, and it's gonna be really interesting. I've seen the YouTube videos, and I'm excited to make a video of it. Probably need to get my GoPro set up for that, but it should be very interesting once boarding down the side of a volcano. That sounds like a lot of fun. Steven Campania, hey, thanks for tuning in and thanks for being one of our members. When applying for a US Amex, does the card have to be approved before November 3rd to get the bonus, or just applied for? It's based on when you apply for the card and the offer that you saw upon applying for it. So even if it goes to pending and it gets pushed through afterwards, you should be good to go. Always take a screenshot, you know? Always take a screenshot of the offer. And Geo68, what US airline did you choose for your airline credits? I chose United Airlines. And if you go on Flyer Talk, there's some data points there about United Airlines. You can load your United Airlines travel bank by $100 increments and have that count towards the airline credit. How many times do you travel a year, Ricky? It depends, right? This year, probably less. In fact, yeah, I'm definitely feeling the travel itch because I've been in North America since I came back from China in June. And so I definitely want to do a few round the world trips. Maybe just you know, not circumnavigating the world, but to the opposite side of the world and back sometime later this year. So we've got Nicaragua planned. After that, I'm probably going to do some flying. And yeah, I've got a lot of airline products that I want to review for you guys, and also a few interesting places to check out and just to get some more trips under my belt. But on average, you know, in 2019, I actually took, you know, like probably 6-7 trips. Some of them are small, some of them big. Sometimes it's just, you know, anything within North America I tend to consider small these days because it might just be for family purposes or catching up with friends or going to a conference and stuff like that. But I like to do, yeah, at least a handful of big international trips with cool flights and nice hotels and stuff a year. So Edward, please buy a drone with a camera and record videos. Oh, I wish I could, man. I wish I could. For the whole Nicaragua trip, between the private island, between the volcano boarding, and we're also going to another volcano to kind of look at the active volcano. Apparently that's something cool to do. But unfortunately, drones are banned. Drones are just banned in Nicaragua, and they'll confiscate it upon entry. It's a well-known thing in the whole travel creator space. Don't bring drones to Nicaragua. So you'll just have to keep, you know, you have to be content with regular camera shots, but I hope it's an interesting video. For me, it'll definitely be fun to make because, again, it has been a while since my last trip. So Bob Chen, you've got the Amex Platinum and you're looking for thoughts on, okay, do you keep the Platinum or do you go for a Cobalt? Really, the two cards serve different purposes. And I think Amex has made that clear with the direction they're taking the two cards based on the recent changes. Cobalt is very much about regular earn, maximizing your regular earn rates through the 5 times the points, whereas Platinum is very much about the travel benefits. The lounge access, universal lounge access with Priority Pass, with Plaza Premium, with Centurion lounges, right? Pretty much the strongest lounge access package you can get on any card, as well as Hotel Elite status. Let's say Bonvoy Gold status, which is a little bit useful, not overly useful, but better than nothing, and Hilton Gold status. And Hilton Gold is not. These comments are just making me crack up. Hilton Gold, you don't get that in Canada unless you get the Platinum card. Even the Business Platinum card doesn't have Gold status. Or if you go into US cards, you can get that status too. But if you're just sticking to the Canadian side, the Platinum card does have its strengths with the travel benefits, but less so with the earning rates now with the Cobalt. So if you can justify holding both, I think there is a good reason to keep both. But it just depends also on your tolerance for fees and your travel patterns and how much you spend on food and drinks. Obviously, all of those factors. Something to kind of consider. If you were to choose one, I'd say if the average points collector in Canada were to choose one, it would probably be the Cobalt, just because of that sheer strength of the 5 times the points. Alan, DJ Mini 2, it's portable, okay, it's under 250 grams, but does that mean it's going to be allowed in Nicaragua? I'm going to do some research after this call, but if you know the answer, let me know. Oh, life insurance. Yeah, I guess. Thanks for the reminder. Probably useful to have that before I go volcano boarding. But yeah, definitely gonna be picking some of that up for our week-long trip. Shouldn't be too much trouble. And yeah, as Richard says here, only some countries require it to enter. Even if they do require it, it's not always checked. I'm pretty sure when I went to Dubai last year, it was technically required to have health insurance, but they never checked it. But it's always a good idea. It's always a good idea. And with that, guys, all right, it's 5:15, 5:16, 5:15 here in Vancouver. So I'm gonna be hopping off, but I'll try to be back next weekend because this has been a lot of fun, and yeah, I just want to start doing some of these more. Sometimes over the past 4 or 5 weeks that we haven't done these, sometimes I've been busy, sometimes I've been traveling. Admittedly, sometimes I've just gotten lazy and just want to take Sunday off, but it's always fun, and even if it's just for an hour or a little bit over an hour, it's always great to connect with all of you and revel in the hype of future travel, as I have done, as I'm sure all of you are doing. And stay tuned to the website, to the YouTube channel for all the regular updates that one of our commenters had mentioned. You know, we're definitely ramping up the content, and we're looking to deliver some, as much exciting news and interesting, analysis for you guys as possible as we gear up for hopefully a big year of travel next year. So thanks all of you for tuning in, and Socks Malone, you should do a Vancouver meetup. Where were you on September 25th? That was our event for 2021. We'll be announcing more for 2022, more get-togethers. Also, if you're a member of Prince of Travel, you can find a membership link below. We also do regular member meetups just for people who are our members, because those are easier to organize. Just as a bit of a plug there, if you guys are interested in checking it out. Definitely before the end of the year, I want to host a little hot pot dinner for our members here in Vancouver. So if you're a member, look forward to that. If you're not yet, consider joining. It'll be great to have you. All right. And I'll see you guys next week. I'll try to see you guys next week. Enjoy. Have a good rest of the weekend.